Hi, it's Katrina. Sarcophagus in an olive grove. For thousands of years, the story of the Trojan War was believed to be mostly myth, since much of it was written by Homer, who was a writer and a poet and liked to embellish things. Ancient historians questioned the account of the siege of Troy and how much of the epic story of love and war is actually real. Scenes from the battle have been found on artwork all over the ancient world, and even though the lost city itself was found in the 19th century, the details remain murky. In 2015 and 2016, archaeologists uncovered a marble sarcophagus dating back to the 2nd century BC. Taken from a necropolis known as the City of the Dead, located in northwestern Turkey, the place is constantly monitored by police to prevent thieves from stealing precious artifacts. A nearby olive grove has become the center of a lawsuit since it is an archaeological site, and there were rumors that illegal excavations had found something very interesting. Whoever found the sarcophagi removed them and took them to a museum. Now there is a fight as to who owns the artifacts, who has to pay for excavations, all kinds of problems. And now the woman that owns the olive grove has a major headache to deal with. While all of this is going on, the sarcophagi are now safe and sound, and historians examining them at the Iznik Archaeological Museum found that they had small statues depicting the warrior Achilles and the Greek king Agamemnon, as well as sculptures representing the spring, summer, and autumn seasons. The sarcophagi tell the story of the Trojan War. One has a relief of Eros with a lotus flower, and it's believed it was used for the burial of a queen. It is the only one of its kind ever found. The oldest home in history. In a cave in South Africa, archaeologists say they have found the earliest human home in history. Located in Wonderberg Cave in the Kalahari Desert, evidence shows that early humans were using the cave as a home over 2 million years ago. Modern humans didn't even exist that long ago, but our early ancestors found caves to be great homes. Researchers from the University of Toronto tested the cave sediments and found evidence of fire. Not only were early humans living in the cave that long ago, they were also making stone tools. But here's the really mysterious part. Archaeologists have never found a single scrap of human remains, meaning no bones, no teeth, and no kind of biological evidence to suggest that humans have ever lived inside the cave. So, how do researchers know that the place was occupied by humans if their bodies have never been found? The earliest evidence of humans using fire was found very deep inside the caves. Researchers found burned animal bones and the ashy remains of plants, suggesting the humans in this cave were the first to control fire for means of cooking. They also found traces of basalt sediment, something produced when a retreating glacier grinds against bedrock. They say the sediment probably got tracked into the cave by the humans living inside it. Of course, it's important to note that when I say humans, I don't mean like us. These were not humans as we know them, but our very, very ancient relatives. But definitely not apes, because they were able to make fire and use it in an organized way. These are the missing links that separate us humans from the great apes. The Devil's Corkscrews. The Devil's Corkscrews have had scientists baffled for years. Tall, strange structures were found across Nebraska and parts of Wyoming and the northwestern Badlands in the 20th century. Each object is a strange spiral or a type of helix that extends roughly 7 feet down into the earth. Then, at the deepest part of the spiral, there is a tunnel which extends sideways at an angle. But what are they? Found by geologists, they are actually fossils dating back between 20 and 23 million years during the Miocene. The Devil's Corkscrews were first discovered by paleontologist Erwin H. Barber. He described them as being magnificent and boasting perfect symmetry with organization beyond comprehension. He initially thought the fossils were the remains of massive freshwater sponges. Or maybe they were once plants, with the fossilized helix structure being a system of roots. It wasn't until later that another paleontologist named Edward Drinker Cope said the interpretation was wrong, and that the helix spirals were probably the cast of burrows of an extinct rodent. Barber said that if this is in truth the work of a gopher, then it must stand as a lasting monument to the genius of that creature. In the end, it turned out that these bizarre subterranean homes belonged to ancient beavers. An extinct beaver species had its teeth matched perfectly with markings found inside the fossilized burrows. It is an incredible feat of engineering made by an animal that is so advanced it helps retain moisture and control the temperature. Not bad, huh? The Dark Watcher. Visitors to California have discovered something extremely disturbing. There are beings known as Dark Watchers apparently watching Californians from the high peaks of the Santa Lucia Mountains. These figures typically appear at twilight. They are extremely tall, cloaked in strange clothing, and undoubtedly eerie. Some claim the Dark Watchers are 10 feet tall and wear creepy hats and capes. If you spot them, they will stare at you and then disappear. And even though there were some bizarre sightings recently, the Dark Watchers were originally discovered over 300 years ago, when the Spanish arrived in the 1700s. The Spanish actually called these apparitions Los Vigilantes Oscuros, or the Dark Watchers, or Night Watchmen in English. And according to legend, when settlers began arriving in the region, they too discovered they were being watched by mysterious beings from the tops of the mountains. One famous observer who felt the presence of the Watchers was the American author John Steinbeck. Remember Grapes of Wrath and all that we had to read in high school? In his 1938 short story Flight, a character sees a black figure leering down at him from a nearby ridgetop. No one knew who the Watchers were, nor where they lived, but it was better to ignore them and never to show interest in them. But just what are the Dark Watchers? One of the most popular theories is that the beings are actually just hallucinations, the exact type of hallucination that a person experiences when they see a dragon in a cloud or a face on the moon. Some claim there are no Watchers at all, but simply shadows being interpreted as giant monsters come dusk. Still, this has not stopped hikers visiting the Santa Lucia Mountains from reporting strange floating beings high up on the peaks. Could they really just be hallucinations? Or is there something greater out there still to discover? Mummified puppy snacks. Researchers were shocked to discover well-preserved animal samples inside of an ancient puppy. Scientists actually found rhino remains, indicating that during the Ice Age, ancient dogs were somehow hunting giant woolly rhinoceroses. The discovery was announced in the journal Current Biology. The Ice Age puppy was found in the permafrost in Siberia and is almost perfectly preserved. Dating back to 18,000 years ago, they have named him Dogor, which is a Yakutian word for friend. So far, his puppy DNA is neither dog nor wolf, so he is most likely an ancestor to both. Scientists believe that the puppy munched on the woolly rhinoceros, then fell into a snowy crevice and was buried by the snow, thus never being able to fully digest its snack. But what does all this information mean? Well, what scientists have been able to extrapolate from the information is that Ice Age dogs probably worked together in large scavenging packs, kind of like wolves, hunting in such large numbers that they were able to take down massive game like woolly rhinos. Ancient Church and the Last Supper. Archaeologists working in Jerusalem have discovered the remains of an ancient, long-lost Byzantine church, as well as the foundations of an old Jewish ritual bath dating back 2,000 years. While this is already significant, it was found not far from an area called Gethsemane, believed to have been the site of the Last Supper. The Church of the Agony was allegedly built on the very spot where Judas betrayed Jesus by giving him a kiss and then handing him over to the Roman soldiers. The church is decorated in very fine carvings and Greek inscriptions alluding to the sacrifice of Jesus. The Jewish bath was found during a construction project, and while there are many to be found, it is the only one in this area. It was likely used for the nearby oil and wine production workers to purify themselves 2,000 years ago, just how it was mentioned in the Gospels. According to archaeologist Ken Dark, who recently uncovered what he believes to be the childhood home of Jesus Christ in Nazareth, the existence of the bath in this place is significant. It could hold clues to the exact location where the Last Supper was held, but the physical site of the Last Supper has yet to be unearthed. The millipede swarm. In Japan, there is a disturbing phenomenon in which horrifying swarms of millipedes get together in such massive clusters that they are able to disrupt the entire country's train network. Apparently, this has been going on for quite some time, and a new study has revealed that the clusters of millipedes actually emerge every 8 years to wreak havoc on Japan. Scientists have now learned that the millipedes have an 8-year life cycle, which makes them the only other periodical animal next to cicadas, meaning the only other animal that breeds in cycles separated by many years. Researchers were able to make their findings after studying broods of these slimy freaks for 50 years. Ecologist Keiko Nijima has been gathering data on millipedes since the 1970s, although there have been reports of massive swarms of them blocking trains that date back to the 1920s. If you're wondering just how problematic a swarm of millipedes can really be, these clusters can stretch out to be over 600 feet in length. Even though each millipede is only around an inch long, they put all their bodies together to create the largest and most disgusting mass of creepy crawlies in the entire world. But what's really fascinating is that they only live for a short time. The female will crawl no more than 200 feet to copulate and lay her eggs and then die. And 8 years later, those eggs hatch and do the same thing. Lamashtu plaque. Lamashtu was a demon of Mesopotamian mythology and the daughter of the sky god Anu. She menaced women during childbirth and kidnapped their babies while they were breastfeeding. In addition to gnawing on children's bones and sucking their blood, Lamashtu committed numerous other misdeeds, including eating men, interrupting people's sleep, destroying nature, infesting freshwater bodies such as rivers and lakes, and inflicting disease. She's often depicted as having a hairy body, the head of a lioness, and a donkey's teeth and ears, as well as long fingers and fingernails, and bird feet with sharp talons. Images of Lamashtu typically show her atop a donkey, nursing a pig and dog, and with snakes in her hands. So how are you supposed to defend yourself from this monster? This plaque, housed at the Louvre in Paris, was created sometime during the 2nd or 1st millennium BC. It was intended to be hung over someone's bed and designed to protect them against Lamashtu's evil behavior. The plaque's reverse side features Lamashtu's husband and rival Pazuzu, the bearer of storms and drought. He has a man's body, the head of a lion or a dog, eagle's talons, 2 pairs of wings, and a scorpion's tail. As the demon of the southwest wind, Pazuzu was blamed for bringing drought during dry seasons and locusts and storms during rainy seasons. Ironically, despite his sinister qualities, Pazuzu was occasionally invoked for protection from evil. He was known for guarding pregnant women and their children from Lamashtu, which perhaps explains why his likeness is on the reverse side of this Lamashtu tablet, where he is shown overlooking Lamashtu in a protective manner. Roman chariot. Earlier this year, archaeologists announced the discovery of an exceptionally well-preserved ceremonial chariot near a villa outside Pompeii that, like the rest of the surrounding area, was completely buried in ash when Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 AD. This place nearby, called Civita Juliana, is getting constantly looted since most of the security goes to Pompeii. Looters have actually built a 250-foot network of tunnels already to be able to steal artifacts underground with nobody noticing. The tunnel just missed this cart. Made from iron, bronze, and tin, the chariot is adorned with depictions of nymphs, satyrs, and cupids. The chariot revealed the well-preserved remains of 3 horses, including one that was still saddled and harnessed. Smithsonian Magazine reports that another major find made at Civita Juliana came to light last November, when researchers discovered the remains of a wealthy man of 30 or 40 and a younger enslaved man, both eerily frozen in their final moments. While vehicles that were used for practical purposes have been discovered nearby, this is the first ceremonial chariot archaeologists have found. Archaeologist at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, Eric Poehler, said he was astounded. He said many of the vehicles he studies are wagons, like a standard station wagon today to take your kids to soccer practice. But this was like a Lamborghini. It would have been used for community festivals such as parades and processions, Pompeii Archaeological Site Director Massimo Ossana told Reuters. Described by Italy's Culture Ministry as an unprecedented find, the discovery advances our understanding of the ancient world. Excavations at Pompeii are still ongoing, despite being rediscovered long ago during the 16th century. Roughly 2/3 of the 165-acre site have been unearthed, meaning more fascinating discoveries are yet to be found. The Great Dismal Swamp. The Great Dismal Swamp is located in southeastern Virginia, and it's a small portion of what was once a sprawling wetland that stretched across at least 1 million acres of coastal plains. There are only about 120,000 acres left of the Great Dismal Swamp, and nowadays it's used as a wildlife refuge. It's one of the last remaining intact wild areas on the Atlantic coast. But here's the thing. It has a long history going back from the Native Americans all the way to the Civil War. Recent archaeological discoveries have been shedding light on what the Great Dismal Swamp was used for during the days of slavery. Many runaway slaves arrived in the Great Dismal Swamp, where some Native American people were still living in the 17th century. Because the runaway slaves would often arrive with nothing but the clothes on their back, they learned how to hunt and fish and live off the land. Imagine having to survive in the swamp. I don't think I could make it. The mosquitoes alone must have been horrible, plus trying to light a fire in the damp, yikes. Some of the most recent excavations from the Great Dismal Swamp have revealed stone tools, fragments of glass, pieces of flint, and other evidence pointing to the people living in the Great Dismal Swamp during the 1800s as basically living in an isolated Stone Age culture. What's really fascinating is that the people who lived in the swamp have been completely ignored by history. Their lives were never really recorded in great detail, and because the swamplands are so hard to excavate, it's almost impossible to discover much about their lives. All archaeological evidence has been in the form of rock tools and bits of stone, but hopefully, archaeologists will keep at it and uncover even more evidence of how these people were able to survive against all odds. Thanks for watching! Which of these discoveries shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button and come back soon for another video. See you later!